Okay.
Good.
Yep.
We're going live in just a minute. Thank you for your patience.
Good.
Yep.
We're going live. Okay, we're live.
Live.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody. The annual meeting Board of Directors for the Saratoga County Prosperity Partnership. And we will call the meeting to order now, 4:03 on March 22nd. And I'm the acting chair, Penny Hill. And we'll do I think what we'll do is stick to the agenda. Hearing no complaints, we'll go with audit first, the audit presentation by Amy Pedrick with Weston Company for our 2020 audit. Take it away, Amy.
Great, thank you, Penny. Hi, everyone. For those of you that I have not met in the prior years, I am Amy Pedrick, a partner with Weston Company. We have an office located in Saratoga and one in Gloversville. We've been doing the audit for about several years now. And just want to start off by saying the audit went very well this year. This is our second year where we had to be a little bit different in terms of how the audit took place because of the pandemic. We were fully remote for the second year in a row. So what happens with more of a remote audit is it kind of tends to take a little bit longer as we have some back and forth via email or phone calls or Zoom meetings versus just popping into Shelby's office and asking a question, or that tends to make it go a little quicker. But overall, the audit went very, very well. And that's really a testament to the organization to be able to go through an audit in an environment such as this with the pandemic and it being remote, and to get the clean opinions that I'm going to go over in just a couple minutes. So, and you all have received the financial statements, the investment audit report, and the 990. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of those three. I did meet with the finance committee last week and went over them a little bit more in depth. So I won't hit everything, but if there are any questions at any point, please feel free to stop me. So the first I'll talk about is the financial statements. And so those are the ones that are not in draft. They're the final copy that came through with your board packet. For those that have seen the financial statements in the past, these are set up the exact same way. There's no new accounting pronouncements, no changes in the accounting world or auditing world that affected the look of the financials. So the first two pages, pages 1 and 2, is the independent auditor's report. That report talks about management's responsibility, my responsibility as your auditor. And then at the top of page 2, it says, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly. So that's an unmodified, clean opinion, the highest opinion we give as a profession, and what the partnership has received in the past. And then after that, we have the actual financial statements. The balance sheet starts on page 3. And the biggest change in your balance sheet is that we did have some reduction in some prepaid expenditures. We didn't make any payments near year end for 2022 this year, as many as we did last year. And we didn't have any accounts receivable out there. So that accounted really for the reduction in the assets. But overall, pretty consistent with last year. And we'll see on the next page, our net assets, or the assets minus the liabilities, that go down. And that's a function of, which we're going to look at on page 4. We obviously had some changes in the organization in terms of the funding reduction due to the pandemic. So we had some reduced revenues and therefore reduced expenditures. Revenues came out to about $490,000, expenses about $509,000. So we saw a decrease in our net assets of about $18,000. The next 2 pages just break down our expenditures between program and management in general. This is a required statement now. It used to not be required, but a few years back it got put into place. And this is mirrored in your 990 as well when you do look at that. So it just breaks them down between program management in general. Then page 7 starts the footnotes. These are set up the same way as in the past. Footnote 1 talks about the organization, what the significant accounting policies are. That goes on for a couple different pages. We talk about the transactions with the county in footnote 2. One footnote I want to bring your attention to on page 10, which is note 6. We did take out the PPP loan. We did take advantage of that first loan program that came out. So we have $81,804 of loan proceeds that are now accounted for in grant income on our income statement because that was forgiven before year end. So that's just the footnote saying that we did take advantage of the PPP loan. Then after that, page 11 and 12, this is just the second opinion that we have to issue. Because you're a component unit and we do a governmental audit, we have to issue a report over internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. So both of these opinions are saying no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies. They are as well clean opinions. And that's just a very high level overview of the financials. Did anybody want to discuss anything specific in regards to the financial statements themselves before I move on to the investment statement? Okay. Then the next financial statement that you have, it looks very similar to the first one, but it's still in draft. I did give Shelby the final one today. My mistake for not sending that over sooner. Paris, or the New York State Authority Budget Office, requires Paris reporting. And in that, we have to do an investment audit. The organization has no investments, but we actually have to do an investment stating that we agree with the fact that the organization has no investments. We have our funds invested in cash. They're not in any money markets. They're not in mutual funds. They're not in anything like that, CDs. But so this report literally just says that there are no investments and we agree with it, and there's all clean opinions. And then the third document is the 990, which is the federal tax return. This technically is not due until May 15th. But because New York State requires all of your other reporting to be into Paris by March 31, we get this completed as well and go over it with the board. This really is just a mirror of the financial statements. The numbers from the financials go into the tax return. And then there are some other yes/no questions in terms of certain policies, and it lists out the board members, etc. So, and it is required to be made available to the board prior to submission to the federal government. So it is there for your review. I won't go over anything too specific on that, But overall, like I said in the beginning, the audit went very well. Shelby, Amy, everybody was, very forthcoming with any information that we requested, and the audit did go very smoothly this year. So thanks to the organization for working with us in a remote environment again, and hopefully next year will not be the case.
Comments, discussions? You're done, Amy?
Yeah, that was just a quick overview. I could talk for more if you'd like. I'm more than happy to, but.
I'll ask if there's any questions. Anybody discussion? We don't have to pass this as a motion, do we? It's just accepted.
Well, we sent you the annual meeting resolution. So that is one of the things that is
Part of it. Okay.
Yeah. And,
Yep.
and it's one long resolution with a roll call vote. But just because that is the way we've done it in the past, but it's completely up to everyone how you do it.
It's just, this is Rocky here. Let me just add that David Wood and I met with Amy at the audit committee, as Amy pointed out, and we had a little more detailed discussion and things like that. And I don't want to speak for David, but certainly in the terms of conversations, I was very pleased with the outcomes that took place. And there weren't any issues that, in terms of our questions that we had, that raised any yellow flags relative to the audit itself when we met last week.
Yes, I agree. It looked very agreeable. Very good.
Okay.
So quick question, Penny, so is the draft resolution in our packet, or is it draft report on scheduled investments? That's what's draft.
It was the draft report on scheduled investments.
Okay, so we're going to be doing a voice roll call on accepting that. Is that what you're looking for?
No, I believe what Shelby said, we could if we wanted to, but I think we would, as it's been done in the past, it's rolled into our annual resolution as part of the
Okay.
annual resolution. But, and I do have that. That was part of your packet. It was annual meeting resolutions.
Okay.
So that's in
Gotcha.
there.
That's
Todd.
fine.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
It's on page 15 of that, if you're specifically.
If anybody goes through with the documents after the meeting and has any specific questions, feel free to reach out to me through Shelby. She has my contact information, and I'm more than happy to, answer any other further questions that you guys may have.
And
Thank you,
so-
Amy. Oh, somebody had a question? No? I thought I heard somebody.
I was just going to say the timing of this is, we're trying to make sure that we make it to the ABO and the Paris filing before March 31st deadline. Ends today.
Close.
But, yeah, feel free to ask as many questions as possible. And
Thanks again, Amy. I think that was a great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Do we have in the board packet, we have the minutes from from February 15th? Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
All right, second.
I'll second, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Approve, anybody, all approved, in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, opposed? Good. Rocky, you're up. Treasurer's report, please.
Okay, on the treasurer's report, what I'm going to briefly go over is the document that was sent to us relative to the, first of all, the statement of activity comparison and budget report, which is the period January 1st, 2021 through March 17th, 2021. And it shows the 2021 adopted budget in relationship to the expenditures to date through March 17th, and the percent of the budget those revenues and expenditures took up. Okay, so basically, if you do the math real quick, if we go through March 31st, it's 1/4 of the year, 3 months out of 12 or over. So we're looking at about, if we're, compare timeframes, you're looking at about 23, 21, 22, 23% of the budget is completed through March 17th, 25% through March 31st. So just very quickly, in terms of on the revenue side of it, the occupancy tax, the requests have been submitted by the partnership to the county to receive the first quarter payment, which would be $112,500. In terms of the grants, with the grants, it represents, there's $60,503 there, which represents 60% of the budget amount of $100,000. Basically, $55,503 of that $60,000 is from the PPP money that we received. Now, technically, because it's a loan and not a grant until it's forgiven, similar to the first round that we got, it was forgiven. So it shows up on the financial statements as a liability until that grant is until that amount is forgiven. But for the purposes of the budget information, is showing up as a grant. The additional $5,000 is from the Global Founders Foundation for the Malta Works project activities that we're working on. Okay, under fee for service, once again, that's much higher than we budgeted for, $20,000, and basically that's $12,000 that was received from Saratoga County Economic Fund, and that's a pass-through amount given the Behan Communications for work related to the Northern Towns activity. So money received, money given in terms of expenses for that type of activity. And then there's a Startup New York program. Once again, we're over. We budget $2,500. We're at $7,250, and that's primarily due to the leaseback program and the MOO agreement we have with New Albany regarding the Spark Shop activity that we talked about. Shall we say no?
It was G&G lighting. It's the pass-through. We get a check every month and we send it back out.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We'll have the same for Spark Shop. It was just a little early.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. So that's on the revenue side. So as you can see, the bottom line, if you will, as I pointed out, we should be about 23% of the budget. We're at 33%, 1/3 the way through. That's including the occupancy tax of the 25 that we submitted for. In terms of operating expense, in terms of expenses, there's really no issues that pop up. In terms of one of the items, the dues and membership line item, that's at 33%. I think that's a matter of timing associated with our dues and membership for the year. Once again, nothing bad, nothing significant to report. In terms of office equipment, it's at 73%. Shelby, is that primarily, it's only 364 hours out of $500 we budgeted. That's primarily due to the move related activities, Shelby?
It is. Our phone system that we brought over didn't work, so we had to get a new phone. We just had some basic equipment like label makers and things like that to make our jobs a little easier. We're organizing quite a bit.
And the other expense item that's over the anticipated amount is a database and information management clearinghouse. And once again, Shelby, if you could clarify what that's for.
Prepaid expense for the year. You paid it all up front, $1,400.
Right, that's what I assume that was the case. Okay, so that's in terms of the statement of activity comparing the budget, actual activity to the budget. In terms of the statement of activity from March 1st to March 6th, January 1st to March 16th, there's really no yellow flags report. Everything seems to be going according to expectations. And with the statement of financial position as of March 16th, that's once again, I just want, everything is in order there, but I do want to emphasize a point when you look at the assets. The PPP checking account is what we have remaining in the checking account from the PPP loan that we received. But when you look at the liabilities, it's the full loan amount of $54,503 shows up as a liability pending its forgiveness as if and when we get forgiveness for a grant related to that. But everything seems to be in order relative to the financial statements. I do want to recommend also, in terms of my closing comment, that that we go back and look at the adopted 2021 budget based on new information that we have received to make an adjustment to the budget to reflect more realistic expectations relative to the revenue and the expenses based on more recent information that we have. If you recall, back in October, we adopted the budget, and this represents a conservative budget versus the other budget that the board adopted both budgets at that time, but the conservative budget is the one that we are following, primarily because that's the money that we're receiving we requested from the county, if you will, that they've, in terms of the money that's coming from the occupancy tax. Projected money, but it may likely change based on what may actually occur during the course of the year versus what may be projected, which is probably more optimistic than what actually may occur. So that's all I have to say relative to the financial report, and certainly field any questions anyone has.
Right. And Rocky, I can also add that we had projected salaries and benefits to be significantly different based on having myself, Michelle, and Jenny on, who both took the full health insurance. And so our salaries and benefits are significantly different this year.
Right, and that's one of the reasons why, both on the revenue side in terms of additional grant support, but also on the expense side, that very point that Shelley just made in particular in terms of making adjustment to accommodate that.
Questions, discussions? Anybody? I hear a motion to accept the budget? The financials as they are.
I would so move.
David, thank you.
I'll second.
Perfect. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Passes. Very good, thank you. Okay, now we're on to the annual meeting resolutions. And I can review them one by one. In addition to the audit that we just went through, there are 4: election of the board officers, appointing of the committee positions, reappointment of the corporate staff, and authorizing the execution of services agreement with Saratoga County. And I think in sake of time, in the past, we've always voted as a single roll call vote. And I don't know if that's how we want to continue. I will go with whatever the majority thinks they want to do now. I'll just present them all as one packet and then you vote up or down with that.
And, Justin actually created this resolution. Justin, would you mind just giving the housekeeping update and why it is done that way? Just, updating and making sure that we're in compliance with PAAA.
Absolutely, sure. And as Penny had mentioned, the resolution's intended to be largely and Shelby had mentioned, a housekeeping measure. Each year we're required to readopt your mission statement and performance measures, adopt your investment policy and your property disposition policy, accept your annual audit that's been prepared and delivered and explained by Weston Company. For a matter of convenience, the annual meeting resolutions also resets the board offices each year, ratifies the appointment of staff, appoints your FOIL officer and your FOIL appeals chairman, things like that. It's set up sequentially. The first three items within the resolution in your packet deal with PAAA and para. Just the readoption of your mission statement, your investment policy, disposition of property policy, and the acceptance of your annual audit, which has been reviewed with the representative Amy from Weston Company. So if there's any discussion or comments or questions with respect to those first three items, now would be a kind of a natural time to bring those up. If there's any follow-up questions on the audit, certainly any of the members of the board of directors can go through those before we roll into the officer and staff items.
No comments?
No.
Okay. The next few items deal with the election of offices on the board of directors. And also there are three sections that deal with the assignment of committee roles. You have an audit and finance committee, a governance committee, and a personnel committee that have historically been populated with different directors that focus on the issues in each of those committees. The first item it can be conversational, or however you'd like to put forth any nominations for the offices of chair, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. I'll defer to Penny on knocking those down one by one, and perhaps she can field. We can do an informal vote now, and then we'll just memorialize that with the single roll call at the end. So I defer to Penny to roll those out and ask for nominations.
So this is, and again, going back on past practices, we have had sequentially movement of the officers up through a ladder. Basically, as I'm as chair, because I've been interim since Kevin Headley had left the board, it would be Rocco Ferraro for vice chair, moving up from treasurer. Maria Moran, who is a newcomer, who is willingly accepted the position of treasurer, and Supervisor Todd Kuzners for secretary, who is a superintendent or supervisor, stays on at that role. And this was an executive meeting that we held on the 22nd, I believe, of February, that we came up with this slate. And I just want to see if there's any discussion.
Yeah, Penny, I would like to make a motion as well on the committee, if I can, on the executive committee. I would put forth Maria Moran as chairwoman, Tim Dunn as vice chair, Rocco as secretary, and Mr. Kuznets as secretary. Sorry, Rocco as treasurer and Todd as secretary. That would be my motion.
Can you say those again, please, Jeff? Maria
as chairwoman, Tim Dunn as vice chair, Rocco as treasurer, and Todd as secretary.
This is Justin Baker. I would second that motion.
Yeah, hey, Brendan Chudy here. I heard the motion that Penny put forth and the logic behind it, and that's that would be something that I would support, that Global Foundries would support. The additional slate that was just put forth by you, Jeff, certainly you have the right to do that, but I've been asking Penny, I've been asking Shelby all this past few weeks if there's anybody that's heard anything about putting forth a slate of officers. I saw some emails involving the supervisors with the slate that Penny put forth. So I would hope that if there is an alternate slate that would be put forth, that it actually get communicated sooner than the moment of our meeting here. It was my understanding that the board that Penny put forth was something that was fully vetted by the supervisors and by a number of other people. So I would support that slate. And I think if an alternate slate is being put forth, I think we should have some discussion about it.
Yeah, I wasn't privy to those emails you were talking about, Brandon. So this is my first opportunity to put forth the motion, which is why I did it.
As a point of order, if I could just interject, I don't think a formal motion was made and seconded on Penny's recommendation. However, we do have a formal motion and second on the table and we're under discussion, correct?
That
Is that where we are now?
I'm
Okay.
not the
seems to be
parliamentary-
where we are. I can, I don't know at this point, do you take separate votes? If there's two slates that are opposing, do you vote on each position? I don't have this. I mean, Todd, as executive committee, we had decided this. You and Phil Barrett both agreed that that was going to be the slate.
Actually, that's not accurate.
No.
We listened to that meeting, in that meeting, and what your recommendation was, but we did not commit to that slate. I didn't commit to it. I don't want to speak for my colleague Supervisor Barrett.
No, there was no, I didn't commit to any slate.
There was no, I was at that meeting as well, and certainly I would agree, there was no commitment per se, but there was also no opposition to the proposed slate that was proposed. And my concern with this latest suggestion or motion, if you will, and this is not a criticism of Maria or Tim individually by no means, but I think we have to have some historical perspective in terms of the board, in terms of especially the chair or vice chair, in terms of having been part of the board or serving in a position leading to that just coming in as new members of the board, just being appointed as members of the board and taking on the role as chair and vice chair. I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with that arrangement. And once again, this is not anything personal against Maria or Tim. Just procedurally, I am concerned about that slate of officers being proposed for reasons so stated.
If I may, I think at this point in time, what we need to do is to take a vote on this slate of candidates that was proposed and seconded. And then after that, we can put up another slate. If we so choose, have that seconded and vote on that slate. And we'll have to see which slate gets the most backing. I think we have, we have a motion on the floor, and I believe we need to act on that motion before.
Act on the motion that's on the floor, the motion made by Jeff Jones for the slate of officers.
This will require a roll call vote.
Could I ask for clarification first? Benny, when you said whichever one gets the most votes, do we need a majority vote? Is it need a majority vote in order to?
Right, it'll have to be a majority vote, yes.
So if the first slate gets a majority vote.
There's no sense in bringing up the second one.
Bingo, exactly. And neither slate gets a majority vote, then we have to come up with a third slate.
Then we got problems.
Okay. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
And if I could get a point of clarification, I didn't hear a second on the first nomination. So I don't know if there is two nominations, if there is two motions on the floor right now.
Second.
There's only one motion that had a second.
Yeah.
What, do we have two separate motions?
No, we can't have two motions at the same time.
Okay, we have one.
Right, we'll have to vote on this motion and after that.
Okay.
Okay. So The motion on the floor, as I understand it, is a proposed slate of officers with Maria Moran as chair, Tim Dunn as vice chair, Rock Ferraro as treasurer, Todd Kuzniers as secretary. And there was a motion made by Jeff Jones and seconded. What I'm going to do is go down through the roll call. And one by one, you can give me your aye or nay. All right. You can abstain if you choose to.
Penny,
Yes.
my internet dropped for about 5 minutes, so I missed all of that, and I'm not quite sure what I'm voting on right now.
This, do you need me to repeat what I just said?
Was there 2 different officers lists presented?
Yes, there were 2 different officer lists. I presented the one that was discussed earlier, that was sent around to people. Me continuing on as chair from interim to chair, vice chair Rocco Ferraro, Maria Moran as treasurer, secretary Todd Kuzniers. And then Jeff Jones brought up a new slate that was not moved to, it wasn't made a motion or approved or seconded rather, but the second slate that Jeff brought up was Maria Moran as chair, Tim Dunn as vice chair, Rocco Ferraro as treasurer, and Todd Kuzniers staying on as secretary.
And we are voting
This is Justin Baker. I seconded that motion.
Yes, we got that.
Seconded. Yes, we got that. So everybody's clear. What we're going to do now is a roll call vote of the slate of officers that was brought forth by Jeff. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Justin Baker. Aye.
Yes.
Renee.
Aye.
Barrett.
Yes.
Bulger.
Yes.
Brendan Chudy.
No.
Eric Conley.
No, for no other reason than I haven't had time to research these other folks.
Tim Dunn.
Yes.
Rocco Ferraro.
No.
Myself am a no. Jeff Jones, obviously yes. Todd Kuzniers.
Yes.
Maria Moran.
Yes.
Tim Zapanic.
Yes.
Josh Spain.
No.
David Wood.
No.
And Benny Zlotnick.
No.
Motion passes.
8 ayes and 7 nays. So the motion for the officer election carries. Is the slate will now be chair Maria Moran, vice chair Tim Dunn, Rocco Ferraro treasurer, and Todd Kuzniers is remaining on as secretary.
So if I may for a moment, just to make a comment for consideration, I think you are running a significant risk of alienating your board members who are from private organizations, from private companies. I'm not sure if that was what the intention was, but to me, there's a message being delivered pretty loud and clear, especially when you have a slate that was circulated. For my characterization would be in good faith, and then another slate that's based upon my information, and I know I don't have all the information, was put in at the last moment with some new board members who've been appointed, and something passes 8-7. So I hope my message to the public board members is clear.
Well, if I may, I wasn't privy to this other slate that evidently had already been decided on, so I could count myself in the same boat as you, Brendan. The only intention here is, in my opinion, we need a diverse set of ideas, a diverse set of skills, and I believe this slate has it. Maybe if you don't think someone's qualified, maybe you can tell me and we can vet that out. But these are very qualified, talented individuals who would take this partnership forward. So I'm not sure about your trying to alienate anybody. I don't know you to try to alienate you. So that wouldn't be certainly be my intention. My intention is to have a slate of talented people lead the partnership.
Thanks. Just a question. Shelby, did you know about the second slate or Penny before today?
I guess it's anyone's right to bring up their own votes at this point.
Indeed, absolutely. I just, Shelby, did you know about this before today? The other group?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Well, in all fairness, I didn't know about the other set either. So I guess that makes us even, I guess. I don't know.
But it was communicated to the supervisors though.
Got it. Okay.
And this is Josh, and and this is not something that Brendan and I have discussed or even touched on in the past, but I mean, at the very least, as Penny said when she introduced the slate, there's a natural progression that we have followed in the past, and I think that the slate that's now accepted differs from that, and that's concerning to me as well. I mean, I was expecting the natural progression. Penny's obviously been the interim, and the fact that there's a wholesale change there bothers me as well. And that's not a reflection of any of the other individuals. It's just different than what we've done. And I understand that you've got the right and the concern and looking for something different, but that's bothersome to me.
If I may, I've been secretary for a couple of years. And if there is a natural progression, I'm still stuck where I came in.
That was intentional.
I think,
I
think Penny said that the supervisor role was intended to be the secretary.
Secretary, but
Right, isn't the bylaws state specifically that the secretary shall be a supervisor?
These were suggestions. The bylaws were never voted on at this point. This is a discussion we need to have at some point if we continue on, but
No, I meant the agreement with the county. Shall be.
Say that again?
In terms of the board, I don't have the information in front of me, in terms of the establishment of the partnership and the officers of the board, the secretary shall be a board of supervisors
So the governance, and I think we touched on this and talked about this at the last meeting. We sent out the suggested committees that folks wanted to be on. And we had talked about the resolution that the governance committee last year started to put into play, which was why the officers were the way they were set up this year. And that resolution basically stated that we want to try to create a succession plan like many other not-for-profit types of boards where the private sector folks have 3 offices, in that you start as the treasurer, you learn the organization intimately through the books and signing checks, the position of vice chair the following year, and then the year after that you serve as treasurer and then cycle off. And to ensure that we have active engagement and participation by the supervisors, we suggested that, or the governance committee at that time suggested that the secretary always remain a supervisor, so that our executive committee always includes an elected official.
Yeah, I just looked at the bylaws. It's not in there. It does not specifically state the secretary shall be a board of supervisors. It was a recommendation for the governance committee. As an all, in terms of, I am concerned about the state of officers for reasons I've stated already, for reasons that others have stated as well. Once again, it's not a criticism of Maria or Tim. It's just in terms of the maintaining some consistency in terms of the board arrangement, officers on the board who are familiar with it, and continuing to move forward in a positive direction. And Penny certainly, as the vice chair and the acting chair, if the former chair resigned, I think has done a very laudable job, especially during these very challenging times that we've been dealing with over the course of the last year here with the partnership, be it financial or personnel related activities and responsibilities. I'm very concerned. I thank you for being nominated as treasurer on this on the second board, if you will, second slate of officers, but continuing that role. But I am very concerned about the slate of officers that has just been approved by a majority vote. And there is a different, in terms of the representation, I am concerned about maintaining a positive working relationship with the private sector as it relates to our ongoing activities in terms of the new appointments that have taken place.
Well, Rocky,
I just say,
I understand that.
just-
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
If I could just say a couple of words, I agree with Rocky and our other former members of this board, and I'm very concerned as well. I hope everything is going to go okay. I hope so. But there's been a lot of change from the original purpose of this board that's happened in the last couple of years. And there seems as if that change is perhaps continuing and even intensifying. So I'm just hoping it's for the better for the economic development of Saratoga County.
Well, I know I don't want to speak on Maria's behalf because we don't know each other terribly well, but I know I'm certainly excited about being part of this team as someone who's worked in economic development since 2005 in and around Saratoga County in the capital region and throughout upstate New York. I'm pretty excited about it. I own a local small business and have been working in this space for a long time, and I know I, for one, have the greatest respect for Penny Hill and think she's done a great job in some very difficult times. I think all of you on this board have done a fantastic job in some really difficult times. There hasn't been real strong succession here. We've had some challenging turnover, and I am truly excited about the opportunity in the future that exists here with this organization in Saratoga County and the opportunities that are at our fingertips. So I'm excited about it, and I think to Jeff's point, let's all row in the same direction and let us prove how well we can do. I know I plan on working very hard at it, and I appreciate the support that we've received.
Thanks, Tim. And if I could just take a moment also to echo some of Tim's thoughts, but also share with you that I'm really looking forward to collaborating very closely with the board and in all due respect of all of the wonderful experience that there is out there. And I think that we can really move together going forward. And I'm looking forward to being part of that team. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Supervisor Barrett. If I can just jump in here for a second. I want to thank Maria, Tim, and Rocco, and Supervisor Kuzners for stepping forward to take on these leadership roles. And whoever, I'm on the phone, unfortunately, so whoever was talking about changes that have been implemented in recent years, that's correct. There were a series of reforms that were implemented and approved by the Board of Supervisors to clearly delineate roles and responsibilities moving forward for SEDC and the partnership. It was felt by many that it was important to do that for many reasons. Had a lot of support from the private sector. So a lot of the reforms and the steps that we've taken have been clearly supported by many, many businesses and business owners and residents of Saratoga County. So I just want to make that clear. amongst the negativity I'm hearing today, it's important that this organization start moving with a sense of urgency, period. And if some on this board think that the changes are drastic, or there's a lot of changes occurring with the leadership, well, yes, there'll be a couple of new faces out of 4 on the leadership team. 2 out of 4. And nothing against the folks that weren't reappointed, I don't think, by anybody that voted for the slate, just the vote we just had. But again, this organization needs to move with a sense of urgency. And there were lost years. We can't make up that time, but we need to deliver results and do it quickly. So that should be our focus. So we should get behind the leadership that was just approved by a majority of this board, accept, and if some people still don't accept the reforms that were approved by the full Board of Supervisors, I'm not sure what to tell you about that. But these are changes that are being made and that are supported by elected officials and many businesses and residents around the county. So let's get behind our leadership, show some positivity and confidence in their abilities, have a sense of urgency, and start getting the job done. Thank you.
All right. So there. So with that, I guess we have, we'll move on. If no more discussion on this, we've already voted, it's carried. Audit and Finance Committee, I'm just going to read these off as informational, and people can, discuss them as they wish. For the Audit and Finance Committee, the folks that had indicated on their paperwork that they sent back in to Shelby for an interest in this area, or who people were nominated for the period of January 1st through December 31st, Maria Moran, Rocco Ferraro, David Wood, Jeffrey Jones. Is that a acceptable number or group of people?
I'd like to make a motion for a second slate if possible. This is Justin Baker.
All right, Justin.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this Audit and Finance Committee as recommended by you, Penny. Can I get a second, please?
A second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Justin asked for the motion first. He gets to go first.
He didn't have a second, did he?
He didn't ask for a second. Penny didn't give him the opportunity.
I didn't give the names yet.
Who has made the first motion? I'm completely confused.
These were the motions that was recommended. It was sent out in the packet. It was sent out previously.
I understand that, but a board member has to make the motion. Who made the first motion? I didn't hear a motion.
Justin.
On that slate.
I just read the names. I didn't make a motion.
He has to make a motion on a second slate, I thought.
But we didn't even do anything for the first slate. I mean, the first slate was offered, and before anyone could say anything, a second slate was nominated.
Get used to it, Rocco. This is going to be the fair and democratic process of how this is going to work. So get used to it, my friend.
Well, quite frankly, Benny, there was the first motion on the floor was from Justin. That was the first motion on the floor.
Correct.
That's true.
Only because the chair was bringing up who was suggested.
You hadn't even finished her sentence yet.
And a nomination came forward. An alternative.
Aren't these voluntary positions? Aren't these something that people volunteer for? Did they have to be voted on?
Yes, it's part of the organizational meeting. We have to have committees.
Okay. So where are we now? We have to have somebody.
So I'd like to hear who Justin is putting forward since he had the motion.
Justin, since you didn't finish the first.
Steve Bulger, Tim Zapanik, David Wood, and Josh Spain.
We generally have the treasurer on the audit and finance committee because they are approving all the bills and handling the committee or the financial reports every month.
Is that in the bylaws?
I don't believe it's in the bylaws. It just
No, but it's common sense.
Why don't we add the treasurer to it? If Rocco, if you'd like to serve on that committee.
it would make sense.
Josh, who's the, Tim and Steve Bulger, Josh, and who was the third?
No, it's David Wood.
David Wood.
Oh, David.
David Wood, Tim, Steve, and Josh.
And Josh.
Josh, are you interested in this committee?
Does it matter if I don't want, I mean, this would, I mean, again, just following the process, I realize that we're making a motion, but we were asked to volunteer for committees and give them in the order of preference. And this was maybe it was the bottom of the preferences for me.
Yeah, that's why, in terms of the names that were identified in the information we received, those were the individuals, Maria, Rocky, David, and Jeff were the individuals that were identified that were interested in serving on the committee. Is that correct, Shelby?
And we had Jeffrey Jones back because of his financial background.
He has to be.
I'd like to second Justin Slate.
I gotta realize who they are. Let's go through them. Because there've been a couple of names thrown out that haven't been. So you're saying that Tim Zaponic, Steve Bulger, David Wood, and someone was saying Rocco, someone was saying Josh Spain. I think that we need to make clear who those names are. So whoever put the motion forth, please clarify for me.
My original motion was Josh Spain.
Josh, you don't have to be on it.
I'll make a quick point of order. I pardon the interruption. The bylaws of the corporation require at least a majority of the Audit and Finance Committee to be populated with independent members. And there's an independence test that is associated with the Public Authorities Accountability Act. I will quickly tick off what those things are, but the individuals can't be employed by the corporation or another corporate body having the same ownership and control of the corporation. So generally what that means is county employees aren't able to pass the independence test. It doesn't disqualify you, but the majority of that committee needs to pass the independence test. There's some compensation rules in the last 2 years. If that person has been employed by the corporation or the county and received more than $15,000 of compensation, and there's general rule that prohibit spouses, not a relative of an executive officer of the county or the corporation. So what I'm seeing is that there's a need to have a majority of this board. So if you have 4 people, then you may have an issue. If you have 5 people, you'd have to make sure that there's 3 of them that are generally private sector folks. I was just pointing that out as a point of order because we have some competing slates being discussed.
So if I could follow up with those comments, there's only one employee of the county on there, which therefore is not a member of the majority. So the slate that was put forward could still be voted on. Is that accurate?
I believe Justin just said you couldn't be employed in the last 2 years. Mr. Panic was employed in 2019 by the county. So that would make half of this slate county paid. 2 out of 4 is not a majority.
It's not a minority either.
All right. Well, it's a majority is the requirement. I just as a suggestion, I don't have a dog in the fight, but if Rocco is pulled back on, would that allow for a 5-2 and a majority to secure that qualification?
I'm okay with Rocco being on there if Justin wants to amend his motion.
Yeah, I would amend that.
So we'll make it a 5. So
The amendment?
I'm sorry, what was that?
This is Tim Dunn. I'm seconding Justin's amendment to the original resolution.
So Brendan, Judy here, is there another slate being put forth as well?
We
Can't have
haven't had a
another slate because there's
motion
already a motion on the floor.
yet. We have to vote. And then if it's the same way as the last one. So if this has a majority by individual votes, then we don't need to put the original slate back up, as I understand it, correct? So what we have is ayes and nays for the slate of Tim Zaponic, Steve Bulger, David Wood, Josh Spain, and Rocco Ferraro. And if I understand that correctly, there's been a motion and a second. Justin Baker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bill Barrett,
Yes.
Bulger,
Yes.
Brendan Schutte,
No, Josh doesn't even know if he wants to be on this. And this is the way that you put forth? No, nope.
Eric Connolly,
No.
Tim Dunn,
Yes.
Rocco.
No.
I'm voting no. Jeff Jones,
Yes.
Todd Kuzneris,
yes.
Maria Moran,
Yes.
Tim Zapanic,
Yes.
Josh Spain,
No.
Dave Wood,
Oh,
and Benny.
No.
So we have the same.
Yep.
7-8. The ayes have it. The new slate of, or the new officers for the, sorry, the individuals who are going to be on the committee for the audit and finance. Can we make it through the next two committees? Let's see what we got going on there.
Governance, please.
Governance Committee, here we go. We had proposed a slate. Do I even need to go into it?
At
Or
least
somebody
start.
I'll
on
make the
last-
motion. I'll make the motion to establish as members of the governance committee, Brendan Schutte, Penny Hill, Eric
Okay,
Connolly.
wait a second. At least let the interim chairperson read her slate, please.
I mean, we had the slate, it did get circulated, and people have volunteered to do this. And some people don't want to be in as, you know, finance committee. Now we have the governance. Brendan Schutte was on our original slate. Steve Bulger was on our original slate. Tim Dunn was on our original slate. Supervisor Barrett, Benny Zlotnick, and Todd Kuzneris for the governance committee slate.
I'd like to make a motion that the Governor's Committee has.
Is there already a motion on the table?
No,
Well,
it was not seconded.
well,
Did
To
you
be
ask
fair,
for
he
a
wasn't able to finish before being in a
conversation.
Okay.
second?
I'll second Supervisor Kuzner's slate.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
I don't even know who that is. He didn't
Could
even
you
get.
repeat the
It
slate?
wasn't, hey, Benny, it wasn't Pete. It was Supervisor Barrett.
So, yeah, I have no
Just-
problem repeating the motion that I put forward for the governance committee, which to be comprised of Brendan Schutte, Penny Hill, Eric Connolly, and Phil Barrett.
Oh, you want to do the roll call?
I can do a roll call. Justin Baker,
Justin?
Sorry. Yes, you're on mute. Sorry, yes.
Bill Barrett,
Yes.
Steve Bulger,
Yes.
Brendan Schutte,
No.
Eric Conley,
No.
Tim Dunn,
Yes.
Rocco,
No,
I am a no. Jeff Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
Todd Kuzneris,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Tim Saponic,
Yes.
Dave Wood.
No,
Josh Spain, you missed Josh Spain.
Oh, sorry, Josh. Spain, Dave Wood. Josh was what?
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Dave Wood was a no, and Benny Zlotnick,
No.
7 and 8. Okay. Your new slate,
Personnel.
Personnel Committee.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for the Personnel Committee to include Phil Barrett, Jeff Jones, Justin Baker, and Benny Zlotnick. I'd like to move that motion forward.
Second.
Roll call. Do I even need to go through who we had originally put on that? People who wanted to be on that committee? Absolutely not. Justin Baker.
identify once again who has been nominated.
You want to go through who was nominated again?
Yeah, Phil Barrett, Jeff Jones, Justin Baker, and Benny Zlotnick.
Roll call.
Can I ask
Justin
a
Baker.
question before we do roll call vote? Can I ask a question before we do roll call vote? Can I ask a question?
Discussion, yes, go ahead.
We got nominations coming in before we can even say anything.
I know, you can't even say anything.
Government operates, I guess. In any case, the question I have is based on who's proposed to be on the finance, the audit committee, the governance committee, and the personnel committee. Are there any members of the full board who are not serving on at least one committee?
Can someone mute? There's a lot of interference.
He can unmute himself if he needs to.
So if everyone heard my question is every board member serving at least on at least one of the committees?
I think so.
All right. So I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I think I'd like to get the answer to that before we take a vote.
When all the committees haven't been filled yet, Rocky, so I'm not sure.
This is the last one.
Last of the committees.
Well, this will put me on 2 committees.
Right. I know there's a few people on 2 committees but I just want, I'd like to make sure that every board member will be serving on at least one committee.
Well, if you like, I was taking notes. I can read through the list if nobody has it. And if somebody is not a member of the committee, they could let us know.
I'm going through it right now, if you don't mind. I'll just be a second. Rocky's.
I don't mind.
Thank you. Audit and finance. Tim. Executive. Connolly. Governance.
I don't see Maria.
Maria's on executive.
Isn't she chair?
Mhm.
On executive.
Automatically. Do we have Justin Baker?
He was
I'm up
nominated.
for vote on this one.
This is on the personnel committee.
Right.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
I'm waiting.
I think everything is covered.
Everyone's covered. Yeah, everyone's covered.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay.
All right, is this the roll call? Or do we need to go through the names again?
You're doing roll call. Stay with roll call.
All right, for the roll call vote, we have Justin,
Yes.
Phil Barrett? Aye or nay for this
He's
slate?
You may have to unmute him.
unmute him.
Yes.
Steve Bulger,
Yes.
Brendan Chudy,
No.
Eric Connolly,
No.
Tim Dunn,
Yes.
Rocco Ferraro,
No.
I'm a no. Jeff Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
Todd Kuznaris,
Yes.
Maria Moran,
Yes.
Tim Zaponic,
Yes.
Josh Spain,
No.
David Wood,
No.
and Benny Zlotnick.
No.
8-7.
Okay. The ayes have it. So we have a new representation on the Personnel Committee. Okay,
We're going to need a roll call vote now since this is broken up. I believe to approve the audit as well as accept the mission, the investment and disposition of policy, disposition of property policy. Everyone should have that. And yeah, the mission statement and performance measures.
I'll
Yeah,
offer
just-
that motion.
What was that? Steve?
Yeah, I'll offer that motion that Shelby just outlined there.
can you say that again so we have it for the minutes? It's all three of those.
All three of those? Steve?
Yeah, yeah. Did you want to do separate or roll it into one?
Yeah, they're all part of the same resolution that, and if there's general consensus that those first three sections are agreeable when we take our final roll call vote at the end, that's fine, just as a point of order without having to.
Okay.
And if that'll perhaps expedite things a little bit.
I will second.
Jeff? Okay.
You need the names again?
No, I got the names.
Okay. Or can I just take a general? We'll do the general at the end then.
Yeah.
If that's not against.
That would be my suggestion, that we're doing a general one roll call vote at the end here. So those first three sections will get picked up. And as long as there are any questions or concerns.
Okay.
We've gone through sections 1 through 7. Section 8 is just the annual ratification of employees of the corporation. Shelby's your president and chief executive officer, and you have Amy Johnson as your economic development assistant and acting secretary. Is there any discussion or concerns or issues on section 7?
I make a motion that those appointments be made or reinforced or whatever the case may be.
I second.
So I think you meant section 8, not section 7, right?
That's correct. Thank you, Todd.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
It also includes some general housekeeping. Shelby, as the president, serves as the president's and the FOIL officer, basically processes FOIL requests. Maria, as the new chair, would serve as the FOIL appeals officer. If a FOIL rejection goes out, then it's processed under the FOIL statute in that fashion. Section 9 deals with the parish report that gets filed. This is really the last step along the way to allow Shelby to complete the parish filing with the annual audit and management letter in hand that gets submitted to Paris. And I believe copied to the Board of Supervisors and other officials. That's section 9. If there's any concerns or any questions, we can address those now. Section 10 is the annual services agreement. Shelby can provide a bit of an update. I know I'd worked with Assistant County Attorney Hugh back and forth just to clean up some sections of the 2021 agreement, just to get it to sync with the original agreement from 2015. I believe that's been finalized. I don't know if there's an update, Shelby.
It was sent to the county administrator's office and then to the county attorney's office. And I had a conversation with them today, and they were verifying proof of insurance. We gave them proof of our workers' comp. We can't provide a certificate of insurance for the county because actually the Saratoga partnership gets its general liability and umbrella policy through the Saratoga County policy. And then we get a separate bill every May to renew that. So we provided clarification for that and copied Cool Insurance if the county attorney's office had any questions, but that was sent as well as the voucher. They made a correction on the voucher. I had the wrong one. So that was, it's all in play right now. We do not have payment, but we've booked 112.5 as a receivable for the corporation.
Okay. This section 10 would authorize the execution of the agreement once it's finalized with the county. So that's in essence a placeholder approval to allow the corporation to draw annual funding from the county under that contract when it's presented for signature. And section 11 is just a catch-all. There may be some forms and things to sign after the fact. Section 12 establishes the effective as of the approval by the board of directors. And as it's set up, one formal roll call vote on the entirety of the resolution can be put forward now, seconded, and voted on.
All right. Anybody want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Second.
Thanks, Steve Bolger. Okay. And we do a roll call vote again. This is the other than the two sections that we went through.
This is the whole thing, Penny.
The whole thing, as it stands right now. We have a motion and a second. Justin, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Or nay?
Yeah.
Yes.
So one moment, I'm sorry. When you say the whole thing, is it everything, including the officers and the committees, or is it everything but that? I'm sorry if that's a dumb question.
No, it's okay. And the interim votes, if you will, were to establish the office slates and committee assignments. It was done on a more formal basis through roll call vote to determine the results of those assignments. The resolution set up to take one formal roll call vote at the end to capture all of the sections of the resolution.
And I believe, Brendan, because the votes were 8-7-4, then all of the new positions were, that's who is going to be put into the resolution. So the new
Okay.
slate of officers and new committee assignments.
Okay, so we're voting on everything, including the slate of officers and the committee assignments and some other things right now.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion is on the table.
Okay. Is there any other questions or discussions? I have a question. Shelby, if this, I'm sure it'll pass, but if it doesn't pass, does that harm in any way the continuance of your filing or any of your timing that you have to do by March 31st?
If it does not pass, I do not know how to send in a parish report without an approved audit. So, and the other is, based on what Justin said, he can back me up on this. It's all part of Paris compliance with the Public Authorities Account Office. Authorities Budget Office, excuse me.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the audit needs to be filed in Paris by March 31st. It's kind of why we are where we are. So certainly we'd look for enough support to have that a board approved audit be filed, not just an audit that's been submitted for consideration.
Okay. Are we ready to go down through the names individually, or is this just an aye or nay, up and down? You know, Justin?
Go through the list.
Okay, here we go. Justin Baker.
Yes.
Bill Barrett.
Yes.
Steve Bulger.
Yes.
Brendan Schutte.
No.
Eric Connolly,
Yes.
Tim Dunn,
Yes.
Rocco Ferraro.
No.
I am voting no. Jeff Jones,
Yes, ma'am.
Todd Kuzners,
Yes.
Maria Moran,
Yes.
Tim Zaponic,
Yes.
Josh Spain,
No.
David Wood,
No.
and Benny Zlotnick.
No.
Okay,
Motion passes 9-2.
6, yep. So it passes. You can get your Paris compliance in. And that will be the resolution. Any new business? We're going to discuss the strategic planning committee. Is that something we're going to continue?
Shelby, I would ask that we table this for now. I think we maybe want to spend a little bit more time digging in and getting our ducks in a row with this and give a chance for our team to discuss and figure out where we want to go with this.
That is, okay. And great. This was based on recommendations from the last board meeting and consider it tabled.
Can I, in terms of, ask a question, I mean, who's going to be having these discussions? Is it going to be board discussion? Is it going to be a committee discussion that's going to come back to the board, the executive committee, if you will, going to have that discussion come back to the board? Or is it going to be an informal conversation taking place amongst selected board members?
How was it done in the past when we had similar situation?
Ad hoc committee would form. You'd have you wouldn't have to have a formal appointment. It would just be the committee of people who were interested. But we had lists of suggested names and inside and outside people.
But the governance committee, came up with their recommendations last year in terms of, to officers and things like that. So it was a responsibility of the governance committee. The budget works to the Audit and Finance Committee. Now, in terms of, a strategic plan discussion, I agree that there should be some initial conversation taking place, but I think it should be in a structured environment that involves either, just for sake of discussion now, the governance committee, the officers, or a new committee is put together to take on this initial discussion that would then engage the fuller committee moving forward, the fuller board moving forward in terms of ideas that come out of that group.
Rocky, if I may, because this was my idea that I threw out there, and I think Shelby did some really great work with it. I think just given the fact that we've had some changes here, that was why I asked to table it, because I thought it was probably too soon to jump into anything like that. So, I think that, let's all sort of chew on it and digest it a little bit, and then I would defer to our chair and our staff as to the best way to proceed.
And, just for everyone's understanding, I created, I kind of created an outline. Tim had talked about it being potentially a marketing committee. We've talked about marketing, potential placemaking. I mean, this is honestly ideas amongst colleagues and a colleague and a board member, or staff and a board member. But, a strategic planning committee, it's not required by PAAA. However, it does dovetail nicely into the county services agreement, which says that we create we work in economic development planning and help create an economic development plan along with SEDC, which SEDC markets as well. And I don't have that language exact. I can pull the contract if it helps everyone. And also as an ad hoc committee, we could pull in members from other organizations that are doing similar economic development work, whether it would be, SEDC, Saratoga County IDA, include the Saratoga County, the chair of the Economic Development Committee, the county administrator, Capital District Regional Planning Commission, CEG, there are chambers of commerce. And this is to kind of what we end up noticing in our field is that a lot of folks our work can end up in silos if we don't have these conversations and convene these. And especially given the fact that the American Recovery Act is going to be coming out within, the next 40 plus days. After Treasury makes its rules, it's helpful for everyone to kind of convene and come up with ideas how we can work collaboratively. That's it. But we don't have to discuss it today.
Okay, so tabled.
I don't disagree with the objective. Okay, we're trying to achieve. I just want to make sure that we follow procedurally a process in terms of starting the initial discussion relative to the objectives, if you will, of the strategic planning committee, and then moving forward, getting the full and the committee, then having a conversation amongst the full board in terms of the ideas that are being thrown out, or suggest, including bringing in, as you point out, Shelby, other entities to be part of that discussion as well as part of the strategic planning committee. I'm just talking about the initial discussion. I don't disagree with Tim in terms of that we cannot have a discussion at this time because of the changes that are taking place. But I want to see some sense of order in terms of if and when that discussion is going to take place, who's going to be involved in that discussion, the initial discussion to talk about a strategy of the strategic planning committee.
And I think that's what the space on the agenda was for today. But as I said, my recommendation to all of you is that we set this aside for now, that we come back to it, once we've had a chance to think about things a little bit more. Just I think maybe the timing might have been too quick on it. So I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, Rocky.
And it was included in this just because as committees are being appointed, like I said, it's not an official required committee of the, required by the Public Authorities Accountability Office. So it does not have to be part of our parish reporting. It was just an idea, but what I can do is circulate a general white paper for everyone and talk about that basic idea of the committee, the organizations that should be asked to come and serve on that committee, as well as the board members, and how that does tie into the services agreement with Saratoga County. And also external forces like the American Recovery Act. I'll circulate a white paper for the next meeting. Does that work for everyone?
Yes, thank you, Shelby.
Right.
It's tabled. What about Shelby? You want to give a president's report now of your activities?
Okay. And I'm going to try to keep this brief. This has been a very long meeting for everyone. I think you all received the president's report in front of you. On the operations side, we do have a new board member, Tim Zapanik. We did have a resignation on March 8th. Scott Solomon resigned from the Saratoga County Prosperity Partnership Board of Directors. He did send that to me, which I did send to the secretary and the other folks on the executive committee. And that allowed for, that opening, which is why we have the new board member. And like I said, Tim was welcomed at the beginning of the meeting. Welcome, Tim Zapanik. The 2020 audit, this did take up a lot of our time in the past month. And also since Amy started on February 3rd, we were starting an audit, and the bookkeeper and economic development assistant was, we were doing a lot of organizing of our QuickBooks at that time. So it did take up a lot of time. We will, as I mentioned, have the ABO report in by March 31st, the Paris report. What I please ask for everyone to do is please send in so that we have them as part of the file. We need your review of your board evaluation, which is an independent. You don't have to sign your name to it. We have our confidentiality or conflict of interest and fiduciary responsibility forms. I do have a checklist. I'm not going to call out whoever does not have it in, but it is very imperative that we get that done. And also we need folks to take their authorities budget office training. If you have not already, I know many members already serve on public authority. So you took it, someone sent you an email, you should be good for as long as you need to. We just would appreciate it, getting a copy so we can have it on file here, just in case, you know, we had an ABO audit and we wanted to make sure it was here. Business retention efforts. You know, again, we have been following very, very closely the American Rescue Plan Act, working with small businesses, especially restaurants, are holding on and very much waiting for the the restaurant rescue plan, which is included in that, as well as the Save Our Stages. We do have a lot of folks actually waiting for that to happen. I'll give a quick update on Project Victory. It was approved by the Saratoga County IDA on March 9th. They already started doing brownfield remediation work, but we are actually working with them in National Grid. National Grid has a brownfield remediation program, especially for a project that has a commercial component, which this does. And they could qualify for up to $300,000 for that brownfield grant program. Or they're also looking to expand natural gas. I want to say it's somewhere like 3,000 linear feet to that project site. But the benefit of that is that the Village of Victory also, since they're bringing it to the front door of Victory Specialty Packaging, the village will also have access to natural gas potentially if there is interest. So working with the Village of Victory as well as National Grid and their planner to, they have their sewer bills going out on April 1st, and we want to send a survey out with that to establish what interest there is for individual hookups as well as the overall gas load for that community. And something that I also had done is the Village of Victory is looking, because of this project, at they need to upgrade their firehouse. It is grossly undersized for modern vehicles, modern fire trucks, and connected them with the USDA Rural Business Development officer, because they do have some very, very low interest loans and potentially other programs in there that could help with that. You know, the Victory Specialty Packaging, the new workforce development, 186 units is definitely going to need fire protection. So there's a method to all this madness. So this is going to really have a lot of benefits for this community. And we talked about the Startup New York client for the town of Half Moon. Matt Grattan did a presentation. University of Albany is working on their campus plan right now. We have another agribusiness expansion project that is probably going to qualify for roughly $50,000 in National Grid grant assistance for their new construction energy efficiency. Let's see, I have another business in Saratoga County that's looking at a $2 million expansion, at least 10 new jobs, and working with them on how to assist with those expansion costs. Also have multiple, at least 2 active indoor recreation facilities. Since the closing of the Half Moon Sportsplex, there has been an uptick in this kind of activity. A lot of folks who want to see an indoor sports facility for youth and family sports. And also we have a potential $12 million, 200 square foot or 200,000 square foot project, which based on the research and the work they've already done on their business model, could draw sports from the Northeast, including tournaments. You know, ultimately those kind of tournaments, they put heads in beds, which drive room occupancy tax. So I also, I'm on the Workforce Development Board, and given the potential expansion of, or the Skinell project that is considering looking at Luther Forest, not only that, but we have an Amazon warehouse in Schodack, which is pulling drivers and other warehouse and logistics talent. We have our employers, Ace Hardware, Logistics One, Target Distribution Warehouse, that are really trying to find talent, but there's a nationwide shortage in Class A and Class B CDL drivers. And our Workforce Development Board, something that we are going to spearhead most likely, is a CDL driver training program or school and incentive program to increase the help with the recruitment process and help pay for workforce training to increase the pool of that workforce in this region. So that if a new employer or employers come online in Saratoga County, we're not going to be poaching workforce from our existing employers. So it's both business retention as well as workforce development. Our childcare survey actually came in. We had a lot of responses, at least 165 right now from the general public, and we have over 60 employers. This was done between Warren and Saratoga County, and working with our Bright Side Up, which assists with childcare availability in the Saratoga, or in the capital region. And there's also the Adirondack Regional Childcare Council, who also does the same thing. Ultimately, childcare has been a very big issue, and especially become a bigger issue because of the impact of COVID and folks not only not having childcare, but having to work from home, and it's preventing people from actually getting back to work. And this was an ongoing issue prior to COVID happening. Ultimately, what we want to do is create an ombudsmanship training program and a workforce training program to increase the availability of at-home childcare centers, which would serve rural and suburban populations. I don't know who we lost here. We lost a few people. That's fine. Again, Northern Borders program, that's almost finished. That went back for edits. And, and finally, the Malta Works. We have a $5,000 grant from Global Foundries that kicked off 3 weeks ago. We've already had over 14,400 spent in the past week by consumers in Malta businesses. We give away weekly gift cards, and we're trying to increase we're trying to market the town of Malta small businesses through this grant program. And we're paying for advertising exposure. We've gotten a ton of earned media out of it, lots of impressions, and we're trying to increase patrons for it, not only from the town of Malta, but from a broader 50+ mile region. I think that's, I have a few other things, but I think that's good for now. It's a late meeting. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, anything else? Is that it?
I just want to say that was a really impressive list of things that you had mentioned and talked about. And I think that this is really positive. So thank you.
Thank you. We do want to show results ultimately. And as, Supervisor Barrett had said, and from the perspective of the County Economic Development Committee, we have a division of responsibilities. We've had a diminishing source of revenue in the past year. We're doing the best we can with the resources that we have in front of us. And that is one of the prime reasons why you would want to engage other folks that do similar work, because ultimately we are all stronger together and we work better if we are collaborating. I've seen the best of economic development in Saratoga County happen when everyone works together and tries to collaborate. We've got some serious opportunities here in this area, and we've had some major challenges as a result of the economic impact of COVID. And, I put some brief data stats in the back of the president's report because, have had the chance to give input into the Capital District Regional Planning Commission. They have a CDRPC has a regional recovery dashboard, which tracks everything from small business openings to bankruptcies to, employment in sectors and, where we've seen the most unemployed. Small businesses, the hospitality and tourism industry has really, really suffered as a result of this. I think we all know that. I think the county, many of our organizations have tried to come up with resources to assist that. The PPP, both rounds 1 and round 2 were so incredible again. But this new source of funds that's going to be coming in to the county in 2 tranches, not only the county, but towns and cities, is going to be very, very important. And I don't disagree. We need to move with a sense of urgency, and we need to move in a collaborative fashion, and ultimately need to do what's best for Saratoga County. That's all.
Yeah, and I want to reinforce Maria's comments and observations as well, given the disruptions that have been occurring over the last 6 months, be it COVID related or staff changes. That's in a global sense, but specifically to the partnership, the staff changes that have taken place, the relocation of the offices, some of the discussions about the merger and things like that. Shelby has really stayed focused in terms of the mission of the organization and the responsibility to carry out that mission, despite the challenges that have presented itself during the course of the last 6 to 9 months. So thank you, Shelby, for a phenomenal job and maintaining the partnerships and relationships with the public, private, and not-for-profit sector, as you have been doing, and it's noted in the in your monthly report here. So thank you for the great work that you've done and pivoting this organization in these extremely challenging times.
Thank you. There's more
Yeah.
work.
Okay, well, any other last thoughts before we adjourn? I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second that.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I
Thank you.